In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 ways that you can actually get out of your continual cycle, and if you stay to the end, it will be life-changing. You know, growing up, I didn't really understand how I could become something great. My inspiration comes from the movies. And have you ever been in a situation where you feel stuck in something, where you're just like, oh man, and then you would go to get inspired by a movie or read a book or listen to a song? In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 ways that you can actually get out of your continual cycle, and if you stay to the end, it will be life-changing. The first one is mundane. And what do I mean by mundane? Okay, so oftentimes we get inspired by doing things, and we get whether it's, something that heightens our emotions, and we tend to live off of those heightened emotions rather than wanting to live in the mundane, the behind the scene. And we all strive for achieving great things. Now, there's nothing wrong with achieving great things. But the problem is, in achieving great things, you have to do the mundane things, and the mundane things is actually the reality of achieving something great. The irony of it is, in the movies themselves, once you go behind the scenes or you start to learn about the actors, how many times they practice things or they read things, you see that it's not so great after all. Now, the polished edition is pretty good, and it inspires you, but the reality is there was so much behind the scenes. In the same way, in your life, every day you wake up and you go to work, you drink your coffee, you read your emails, you go to the gym, and you do all these things, and you're wondering, oh my goodness, a lot of people call it the grind. It's in the grind, those daily decisions, that actually help you and mold you into the person that you can become. In the Bible, in Psalms 119, it says that God is the light for their pathway. But notice how he said he's the light. He doesn't give us a blueprint. He just says he's the light. So the next step. So when we start to realize that God will give us the light for the next step, and it's our faithfulness, if we're faithful and then we steward, he will be there. And so in those mundane tasks, you have to try to always remember the bigger picture, and that those small moments are actually what help shape and form you into something that God wants you to be. The second thing is, life is a marathon. And what I mean by a marathon is that we have to see things not in the idea of a sprint, but of a marathon, the long distance. We got to look, and it's doing things with the idea and the intent of we're being shaped and formed. One thing I've learned, though, over time is consistency always overcomes things that are inconsistent. And what I mean by that is, a lot of the times people try to rely or find something, a shortcut or something easy, and they may find something short for a while, but then in the Bible it says the things that are deeply rooted will sustain storms and will last over time. Jesus explains to us about our faith is, when it's rooted and deep in understanding, we can overcome the storms, we can overcome things. So when we see things in the sense of a marathon, then we're able to see things in a greater perspective. Now, if somebody right out of the gate starts to sprint, I have a friend that right out of the gate, he sprinted one time, and he was in first place for about 10 minutes, and then he ended up being in last. In the same way, we got to realize that in life, we need to look at the bigger picture and always stay balanced on the trajectory of where our life's going in the bigger realm of things. The third thing is you need to remember that we have to be obedient to God. And what I mean by obedient is not often by try harder, but to listen to his voice, know the intent of our heart. And there's an interesting story that Jesus, he tells John the Baptist's messengers. They come to him and they say, "Are you the one?" They're doubting him. And they're saying, "Man, I don't know if he's the one." And Jesus goes on to say, "Tell John the Baptist that I raise the dead, I heal the sick." And he does all these miracles. And he looks back at the crowd and he says, "Blessed is those who don't fall away because of me." And he's trying to explain and tell people that, you have an idea of what God should be, of who he should be, his characteristics. And when we stay obedient to who he is and know that his character and he's faithful, and by reading the Bible we can see him and we know in our lives, then he's able to work through us and we're able to do great things. Now the issue is that obedience isn't by our will. It's not by our doing. It's just by listening and trusting him. And so I just want to encourage you with that is if you are intently seeking him and you give him your life, and even in the mundane things and then in the marathon of life, and you're obedient to him, he will be faithful to get you out of what you call those cycles in life. Because the reality is that we all are living in a life where we have to be dependent on him. And when we are totally dependent on him and our heart is right, he can work great things through you. In the comments below, please share with me a story that you have went through where it seemed like you were stuck in a rut and you were in a season where you weren't sure if God was there. And you were persistent and you stayed the path, and he ended up being there for you. If you guys enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and may the grace of Jesus Christ be with you guys.